Thank you for joining us, everyone, for another episode of Live by Heart
Today,
with your host, Heart Coherence Coach, Don Spiegelberg.
Hello, and welcome to the Live by Heart Today show. This is the show designed to help you navigate change, uncertainty, and the new world we've found ourselves in. We'll talk a little bit about science. We'll talk a little bit about how our body works. We'll talk a little bit about intuition. And we'll talk a lot about transformation. Adjusting to the current state of the world is going to be a little different for everyone. And I'm excited to talk about tips and tricks and tools that you can use in order to make your adjustment much more smooth. Joining me for today's Heart to Heart is the show's producer, Rusty of Retro Earth Studios. Hey, Rusty.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for
How
having me.
are you adjusting to the change today?
I keep a happy face on, although there's a lot of uncertainty right now. I mean, all I can do is stay positive, stay optimistic, keep praying for hope and love, keep sending out love, keep encouraging people to connect. I know there's a lot of people going through some turmoil. There's a lot of people dealing with grief, a lot of people adjusting to their work situation and then being confined in their home situation. I'm a little bit blessed in that I have a little bit of room. My wife has the upstairs. I have the downstairs. She's working. She's on a conference call. I'm working. I'm on this. And so the adjustment, though, has taken a little while to iron out. So I still don't know what tomorrow holds or the next week. I'm just playing it a day at a time and hoping it just continues to, hoping it gets better.
Yeah, hope. Hope is really important for us to hold on to. And let's just take a minute and talk about adjusting to change, because this type of change didn't really give us any ramp up. It didn't give us any transition time. So, for example, the Earth's revolution around the sun, right? Let's talk about seasons. We're given a chance to transition and adjust to seasons, and it happens relatively slowly, right? We get to change our clothes, we get to change our routine, right? We change the kinds of foods we eat based on what's being grown. We even change our hobbies, right? People ski in the winter and they boat in the summer, right? But we're given an opportunity to adjust to the external changes with a relatively slow timeline. And then there's another change, right? Just the Earth's rotation of night and day. So
There's constant change happening. Yeah.
Right. It was a full moon, right? But we don't get full moons, but every 28 days, right? So we get time to shift. We have time to catch up on sleep, because during the full moon, a lot of people don't sleep well, right? So then you've got another 28 days to sort of catch up from that. But what about the Earth's travel in time too? Hour by hour, we're shifting. We don't eat the same food for breakfast that we eat for lunch, that we eat for dinner. And that's a relatively slow shift also, right? We change our clothes from night clothes to day clothes, but we've established a routine, and now we've been shifted into something completely different. It seemed to have happened almost overnight. So how do you stay positive? How are you standing in a state of love when there's so much uncertainty?
Well, I'm going to answer that honestly because I've been on a spiritual journey for at least half of my life. I've had a spiritual awakening in the mid 90s and have been on a spiritual quest since then, going on an inner journey. And because I kind of have that foundation in place where, one, I already realize that I'm really not in control of very much except my attitude and my actions. And
That's beautiful. I want to jump in and
okay.
mention you're talking about, and you had a perfect segue. You're talking about an internal change. And when you say you don't have control, right? You can't control the external things around you. So you have the ability to control your inner responses. Okay, so
Right, which has not been easy.
right.
Um, I can say comparing who I am now to who I was very much a slave to my emotions, and my moods dictated my actions.
Mm,
And outside circumstances and external situations uh, basically dictated how I was going to live my life. I mean, I'm kind of under that same duress at this moment, but I'm not feeling the duress. I don't feel stress, although part of me inside is saying, shouldn't I be worried? Should I be more stressful? Shouldn't? There's a lot of freaking out going right now. But I also have ingrained in my mind from a young age is that in any emergency, rule number one, don't panic.
ah, where did you learn that? Because I've heard that before, like in the people who've been in the military say, rule number one, don't panic. Because what happens when we panic? When we panic, there's a nervous system response. We are designed to have a reaction based on something that's threatening us from the outside. So panic is natural. So when you tell yourself, don't panic, how do you not panic?
Exactly. Well, I mean, first of all, I'm aware when I become panicky.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
My heart starts to race. I start to get a little confused. My thoughts don't connect, and I'm like seeking clues and answers, and I'm in this observation slash preservation mode where like, do I fight or do I freeze or you
Yes.
know? And so I'm in this, but where in the past I used to kind of beat myself up for not knowing what to do in that moment,
Mm.
saying like I'm supposed to know at any given moment exactly what I'm supposed to do. Like that's a lot of pressure to put on
It is a lot of
myself.
pressure. And I'd like to say why. Because when we're in panic mode, our body is perceiving a threat, right? And it could be a mental perception, but the response is in the body. And if we're in the midst of experiencing something that is perceived as a threat, we must identify it. We must identify it to change it. Because why? Because it's a matter of life or death.
Yeah, this is where the confusing part falls in. My perception on what's right and wrong and what's healthy and not healthy um, are being reevaluated on a constant
Mm,
basis. And so when something happens and I immediately assume it's bad, it's typically because it's uncomfortable.
that's good. So what you did, you just identified assigning a meaning to a situation. And when you take that step and assign it, right, either good or bad, when you assign a meaning, then it takes on that meaning. However, if you didn't assign it a meaning, it would neither be good nor bad. It would just be what it is.
That's where acceptance comes in. And I think that's the root of most of my problems is that, and I would say society at a large as well, is
Yes,
that we're inherently skeptical
yes.
and
You're the
cynical
microcosm.
and yeah, and so that's where the hesitancy also comes. Like, am I supposed to accept this? Is that healthy, or should I be resisting this? Because typically resistance and you can't have one without the other, almost. And part of me says that if I'm readily accepting this, like, does that mean I'm evolved, or does that mean that I just maybe haven't thought it through? So there's a lot of processing going on in a split second sometimes.
Yes. And here, this is so important. I'm glad you said it. If you're giving yourself those two polarities, right? Am I accepting it or am I resisting it? Even doing that is assigning something to it. It's assigning a meaning, and that meaning is based on what's happening inside you, right? So do you, if you accept something, does that mean that you're valuing it and you agree with it? Right? You don't
Yeah,
have to.
that's with acceptance. Yeah, does that mean I condone this?
Yes. Yes. And those are different choices. You can allow something to be what it is without accepting it and without agreeing with it, right? If you're walking in your yard and you step in something that your dog left for you there, you can just accept the fact that now your shoe has to be cleaned, but that doesn't mean that you agree that right, your yard should be dirty like that, you know?
Right. And that's twofold because that does happen. And when
Right?
it does happen, usually I beat myself up going, I was supposed to pick this up earlier. Should have, I got to get it,
Ah,
there becomes this taskmaster that suddenly rears his ugly head and goes. And
yes.
so basically, then, and so there is this, again, I think the physical world has a right, wrong, up, down, in, out dichotomy, and in
Duality.
duality,
Yes.
and so in spirit, though, my belief, everything's gray, and so like I step in some stuff, and then I still think internally that's bad. I was bad, and
Ah,
I'm
yeah.
punishing myself. That's bad. But there comes this thing that you said earlier. It just is what it is. You remove the emotions and the attachment to it. I was walking the yard and I stepped in poop. I,
And
why
so that,
would I get mad at anybody else for doing that?
oh, that's a good question. And this is important to recognize. So let's say, for example, you set aside a particular day, 10 o'clock on a Friday, to clean your yard. And 10 o'clock on Friday comes around and something else happens, right? Oh, you get a phone call from a family member or a friend, or oh, you want to put the last finishing touches on the video that you've just created, right? So
Or it
now,
rains.
or it rains. So now that that moment where you made a different choice is no less important than the importance of cleaning the yard, except
Hmm.
you give not cleaning the yard more meaning when you step in something, instead of saying, oh yeah, I did this other thing that was really important, and valuing that, and
Hmm.
then just accepting, well, of course I valued something else, and now I've stepped in that because I valued it differently. And it shouldn't be a big deal, right? What's the big deal with cleaning off your shoe?
Right. I do it all the time. I've gotten quite used to it.
Right, right.
and it,
So,
and, it, and I got to say, though, after a while, it just becomes an incident, an occurrence. It doesn't
yes.
become an event. It doesn't become a joy robber or a deal breaker or a task stopper, because we're using the metaphor of stepping in something. It could apply to anything. Uh,
Yes. Yes.
right now we have a major life interruption.
And that major life interruption is a different experience for different people. So you've gotten to the place where you were able to accept, well, sometimes I step in something in my yard. And what I believe is that if your inner battery, right, if your energy reserves are high, then you're able to identify an occurrence as just an occurrence and not assign a meaning to it being good or bad. However, if you're tired, if you're feeling overworked, if you're dissatisfied, if you've been stressed and then you step in something, it's almost impossible not to assign a meaning to it. So, what's been happening? We've
Guilty.
all been living our lives, and then suddenly everybody stepped in this big pile of now coronavirus, stay at home, change everything. And if you didn't have your battery charged 100%, right? If you were stressed, if your digestion hadn't been working, if you didn't go to the grocery store and you're down to your last roll of toilet paper, right? All of these things add up to, and now I've stepped in this thing, and you fall apart.
I got to say, I really identified with that. And sometimes when that does happen, because I feel like that kind of happened between October and January, like a whole bunch. I stepped in like it just kind of dumped. It just rained,
Mm,
and all sorts of upheaval is a good word. There was a lot of upheaval, and where I was, the things I wanted to do weren't available, and I had to do other things that were less enjoyable, and I felt like I was almost going through a purgatory of some sort
mm.
where and so, but um, this is where the attitude comes in. I just kept telling myself it'll pass, it'll pass. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking the universe is trying to thwart my intentions. It's me
Ah,
against the world, and I'm going to have to fight. I mean, because it's either that or roll over. But then part of me is like going, isn't it me and the universe? Why am I like? So am I trying to go upstream while everyone's going downstream? Am I going? And so this comes to a point that when I am in that struggle and strife mode, it's either one of two things: growing pains, where I'm learning and struggling a new skill or learning a new life. I would say a life lesson, or two, I'm just plain heading the wrong direction.
ah, ah. So before we move on to discuss thinking, don't we want to take a little break?
We should do that. And the reason why we like to take a break is this show is produced by Retro Studio and sponsored by We Are Historically. And We Are Historically, I got to say, is up to some phenomenal things right now. And they're creating a fundraiser to support the COVID relief fund for the American Nurses Association. And you can support our caregivers by going to wearehistorically.com. You can see the t-shirts, all their new releases. We just like to thank them for helping our caregivers and helping spread the love.
Thank
That was
you.
our
We are
break.
historically.
Yes. Great organization. Go to wearehistorically.com. Lovely message. It's all about one love.
All about it. Thank you for that.
So where I'm at now is that I have a feeling that whatever like we're discussing right now is everyone is being confronted with themselves. Like there's nowhere to run. There's no distractions except TV and Facebook and YouTube and and social media. But I would like to say, like, really I believe that now is really a good time to get to know yourself.
I think that's very difficult for people who have been avoiding it for a lifetime. And what if they don't like themselves? What if I don't like myself? What if I wake up or I've been living my life? This was a real shocker for me. Raising children, right? First bringing children home, and over time I began hearing my mother's voice saying something coming out of my mouth, right? Some parenting thing. Oh, don't do that, or oh, please use your napkin, right? It was my mother's voice, and realizing that that was a shocker because I wanted to raise my children my way, right? So our thoughts, right? Thinking, it isn't cutting it anymore because we haven't really been taught to think. Yes, we live in a thinking society. Yes, we value high level thinking, but that's the external application of thinking, right? I know how to problem solve when this happens on my computer. I know how to get to the gas station to put gas in my tank. But how do we resolve the problem of our own thoughts, the ideas that come up in our head?
And I gotta say, when this all started, I did not know what to think. I mean, there's so many conspiracy theories. There's so much fake news nowadays. It's sifting through all this stuff. And it gets to a point where I realized I had an epiphany of my own that really I don't have any control over that. And all I can really do is take care of me. It sounds selfish, but to be honest, that's what I'm not used to. I'm used to taking care of others, being of service to others, and here I am suddenly stuck with me.
Right? So I just want to point out something super important about that, because when we're faced with a threat, right, a stressful situation, we are narrow-minded by design. We are supposed to identify what it is that is a problem that is threatening our survival. We're supposed to run away from it, right? We're supposed to freeze and not be seen, or we're supposed to be ready to fight it off. So we're narrow-minded when some big thing happens and the world is uncertain, and we're trying to find where's the threat coming from. And what has the media been feeding us? Well, we can't see coronavirus, and it might be on any doorknob, and it could be your neighbor, right? It could be anybody.
And
So,
yeah, so just fear. I mean, it's just like this underlying tone of fear, the
yes,
unknown.
yes, the unknown is the most difficult thing for us to manage, because we don't have a framework for it. We don't have the ability to think through the unknown. Why? Because our brain looks for patterns, and the patterns it recognizes so that it knows how to behave. And people don't know how to behave because what did they do? They all ran out to get toilet paper, right? They don't know how to behave. So they're doing what they're being fed, what they're being told to do. So, how do we shift out of the thinking mind and find solutions? That's the answer. We don't allow our mind to run away with us, and we practice a different kind of understanding, which comes from the heart. We've been a society disconnected from our heart. So everybody spent time thinking about the brain, right? The brain has a whole bunch of nerve endings. Everybody knows nerve endings are where we think. Well, the heart has 40,000 neurons of its own. So it has its own thinking capacity. It's really incredible. But our brain, it has a much louder voice in our head. So when we practice quieting that louder voice and begin listening to the voice of our heart, it makes such a big difference, because we are able to have higher energy, higher thoughts, right? Not thoughts of, oh my God, what's going to happen? Oh my God, where do I turn? But thoughts of caring, taking care of yourself, being compassionate for the people who still are looking for toilet paper, right? It sounds simplistic, but it's really, really powerful.
Wow. Yeah. What comes across my mind right now is how much you said supposed to. Like we're supposed, I think that might be the root of my problem. Like
Uh,
not a symptom, but like a root is that I feel like there's a whole bunch of non-closure on some supposed tos.
mm,
Like 2020 was supposed to be better. 2020 was supposed to, and I can apply that to so many stages in my life. Like when I hit 50, I'm supposed to be at some certain level, either financially, emotionally, spiritually, or whatever, mentally. Like we put such an emphasis on expanding our mind and our intellect. Like you said, we're a thinking society and we value thinking.
Yes.
And right now, I don't know if our best thinking can get us out of this problem. I think some of our best thinking got us into this problem. And so I believe that right now it's more of a feeling-based solution.
Mm. Yeah, so this is where we really get into the idea of intuition and transformation. So our minds have created, right, cell phones. Our minds have created the internet. Our minds have created amazing things. And I'd like to quote Henry Ford. He said, "If I had given the people what they wanted, right, I would have bred faster horses."
Oh, wow. Out of all the Henry Ford
Ford,
quotes,
yeah.
I wasn't aware of that one.
Yes. So what do people want? They want safety, they want security, they want faster horses. But the solution is not to begin breeding faster horses, it's to design an automobile. The solution for us right now is to not try to think better through this. The solution is to transform. And how do we transform? We transform by shifting out of being so thinking focused, so brain focused, and we shift into a heart focus, because the heart is the center of understanding caring, understanding compassion, understanding how to take care of ourselves. It raises our energy. It increases the reserves that we can hold in order for us to be resilient and bounce back from external uncertainty. It increases our immune response. And who wants a compromised immune system right now? Nobody. But we've entered this coronavirus stage, we've entered this new world from a place of stress, and stress decreases our immune response because immunity isn't essential when we have to run away from a threat, right? Our immune system is not a vital system when we're under stress and having to run away from the threat. Our immune system is necessary for when we're calm. Our immune system is necessary for our resting and our digesting and our chill part of our lives. But people didn't enter this new phase of the world from energized. They weren't getting enough sleep, right? They were thinking, what's next? What do I do next? I got to take the kids here. I got to get home from work. I got to make dinner, right? Instead of being calm and living in the moment and being connected to themselves, which is the heart coherence, living by heart.
And if I want to explore that further, what do I do? I mean, that sounds like, I'm going to tie this together because that just made sense to me. Like with the Henry Ford quote about breeding faster horses versus creating something that doesn't exist yet.
Yes.
That people cannot envision or imagine. How do you convince people to trust you in that case? Like, I'm going to lead you straight down uncertainty until we get
right.
to down the road of possibility, through the forest of uncertainty, till we get to the promised land. Right?
Yeah. So everyone has to choose. When Moses led the people out of Egypt, right? They could have chosen to stay in Egypt, right? You can only be presented with an option, and then you must decide whether you're willing to go that direction or not. So everyone has to decide for themselves. And here's another beautiful, important thing to understand. Right now, it's unprecedented times. And a company who has been studying the wisdom and intuition and knowledge of the heart has been studying it for 25 years. And they have opened their doors and created something called the Heart Math Experience, where everyone can learn and practice heart coherence on their own for free. So when I became a heart coherence coach, I recognized the benefits of it. I paid my fee. I learned the information and I put it into practice. And I've been doing it for over 3 years now, right? But Heart Math has opened their doors and they're allowing anyone and everyone to learn how to practice heart coherence. So, what would I love everyone to choose in their lives? I'd love for them to, one, take advantage of the opportunity to learn heart math from the experts. So getting heart coherence and understanding it from the people who created it. That's brilliant. And two, I'm offering a chance for everyone to have an opportunity to get their questions answered, to get a little practice in, to understand and feel what it's like to be supported in their journey toward finding their own heart coherence. And that's happening every week for 9 or 10 weeks.
What an incredible opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled. Like, it's like, okay, so how do I I'm interested. I want to enroll. What do I do?
So it's called a master heart group. So it's a lot. Everyone knows what a mastermind is. So it's very much like that. It's a master heart group, and you can sign up by going to heartcoherence.today. There's information on that site where you will, one, get the link to the Heart Math Experience, and two, you will get the information to join the Master Heart Group. So it's as easy as going to heartcoherence.today.
Wow. To me, that just seems like a golden opportunity, like a silver lining in all of this. Silver and gold. It's silver and gold.
Yeah. And when you don't know what to do, right? These are difficult times and they require different solutions. So if you've been a thinker, and we've all been thinking, right? And you may not have solutions for yourself right now, living by heart is one of those solutions. It's the next step into transformation.
I got to say that one thing I've noticed during this quarantine period is people have been improvising on their gym workouts.
Yes.
And I'm not really a gym guy. I have a dog. And so I get plenty of exercise having a dog and mowing a yard and doing regular house chores. So that's my workout. But this is where I'm watching them people get creative and, with the, we put so much emphasis in building our muscles, our arms, our legs, our intellectual muscle, our brain, and reading and going to school and getting a degree. And what's the most powerful muscle that's keeping this all going?
That's right.
Like, this to me seems like the most vital muscle connected to this, of course. But this is where I'm thinking, like, the heart is a muscle. And I neglected it for far too long. And if it doesn't work properly and connect properly and sync, I got a feeling like a lot of the turmoil and stress and strife I had in my life was because I wasn't connected with my own heart and how I felt and what I love and what my true passion is. And, and that, I think that's what everyone's seeking is what's my purpose in life, right? And I believe that if you ask your heart, you'll get an answer.
Beautifully said. And what's really amazing is that the heart is the first organ to be created in an embryo. And it happens at like day 19. Boom, you've got a heart, and it's the first one.
Wow. That's incredible. So we will put the link in this chat box, and we will, of course, provide more information. And we're going to have a lot more shows discussing these kind of topics, aren't we?
Yes, I'm excited about it.
I might not always be on the show. I'm usually in the background running the show, but I'm really glad I have an opportunity to produce this show because I get some heart coherence coaching.
Yes, definitely. So with that, I would like to say from my heart to yours, I encourage everyone to move your body, know your mind, and awaken your heart.
And that concludes this portion of
Live by Heart today!
Thank you for watching. View more episodes on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's give a shout out to our sponsors. Thank you, We Are Historically, for making this show possible.
Have a happy